Hey guys, Jim here, and I wanted to take a little bit of time, make a video here, and have a little discussion about Rick Hinderer knives. Kind of cut through the hype, cut through the mystique, and just sit down and be honest about what the knife really is. You know, some people talk about, are they worth the money? Are they not worth the money? Is it the next holy grail of knives? And is it worth, having to search them out and try and find them? And I kind of wanted to discuss, my thoughts on that. And you may not agree with it. And if you don't, that's fine. You're welcome to leave all the comments you'd like. Let's, I'll try to get along and be nice about it. But I find the brand itself to be less polarizing than some others. The price obviously is very polarizing. People are really on one side or the other. They're either going to say, yes, I can easily justify the secondary market prices, or I can't justify it. And that's fine. I'll get into that in a minute. But the brand itself seems to be pretty well accepted. I mean, there are going to be people that do and don't like it, and that's obvious. But, you get to a brand like, let's say Strider. People either really, really, really love Striders, or for whatever reason, there doesn't seem to be much of a gray area, or they just hate it. And the same thing kind of goes for Chris Reeve knives as well. And again, part of the whole Chris Reeve thing is always going to be the expense. It's always going to be the price, because they come out of his factory at a price that some people feel is unjustified. I obviously do think they're justified. I've made a video about that. You can look it up. I love my Chris Reeves, but it's kind of rolled into one there. But there are people that are really on one side of the fence or the other on Strider and a few other brands. And yet when you see discussions about Hinderers, generally the only negatives you really ever hear about them are going to be the price. I mean, not really a lot of people out there saying, oh, Hinderer is a piece of crap, or I've seen a lot of inconsistencies coming out. And while that's great and all, I'll be honest with you, it shows how much people fell for the hype. And here's what I mean by it. Go look at the amazing amount of videos on YouTube, people getting their Hinderers for the first time especially, but even the guys that have had theirs for a while, whether it be an XM18, XM24. This is an XM24, by the way. This is the larger 4-inch blade. And what's the first thing that happens, especially on the first, second, and third generations? They'll go to hit that flipper. And now mine, I just took it apart. I just lubricated everything. I changed out the scale. I took off the carbon fiber scale and went back to the stock gray G10. So mine's actually very nicely broken in. I've got a nice action on it. It's great. And 24s seem to flip better than 18s anyway. But you'll watch these guys, and it's like the blade barely moves. Now, I understand that on the new ones, and Rick is very clear to tell you up front, my knife is made to be broken in. Just like when you buy a Medford. You buy a Praetorian, it's going to be kind of the same way. And Greg Medford's very upfront about that. He says, this is made to break in. I don't want it to be loose out of the box, because it's just going to break in later and get looser and fall out of spec, and then you're going to have a rattly, crappy knife. I get that. Hinderer is the same way, but I'm talking about the guys that have had their knife for a while. They tell you very clearly it's broken in, and they'll hit that thing and it's barely opening. Listen, even at the factory price, if I'm buying a flipper, it damn well better flip open. He makes a flipper and non-flipper version of each of the variations. So if you're going to go forth and make a flipper, it damn well better flip. That's just the way I feel about it. And you know what? I'm not picking on Hinderer. That could be said about any knife. I've said that about my Una. My Una is probably my favorite knife. And you see in the video review I did of that, doesn't flip. Like that flipper was not designed to flip for whatever reason. I get past that. I can justify it because I love the rest of the knife. I just don't really ever call it a flipper. When this actually bears the moniker XM24 Spanto Flipper, it should flip. That's just the way I feel about it. So I think people tend to just kind of buy into the hype, and they're telling themselves how great the knife is, how amazing it is. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying you shouldn't say that knife was great. But you should at least put that caveat and go, you know what, everything's great. It locks up great. It's got great centering and the yada yada. But gosh darn it, it just won't flip. Or I've got to give it a tremendous amount of wrist action to get it to flip. Just be honest about it. That's all you need to do. Don't fall into that hype trap. Here's the way I look at it. For the money they charge, and let's get right down to that, you buy an XM18 in 3 or 3.5 inch from the factory. It used to be $360. I just communicated with Rick maybe 2 months ago, and it may have been Orlando, but I think it was Rick that responded. And he says, yeah, I'm having to raise the prices this year, so it's going from $360 to $375. Okay, big whoop. That's not bad at all. And then the XM24s are $500. And that's all well and good if Rick accepted direct orders. I wouldn't even mind if I had to wait 6 months. Fact is, unless you're law enforcement or emergency services or military, you cannot buy direct, at least on the XM18. I think he just did a public release of the XM24, so don't quote me on that. But at the time I was interested only in the 3.5 inch 18. And he says, no, we're getting ready to go into production again. And actually right now, because this is April 8th. And he's getting ready to start taking those orders for LEO. But you can't buy them direct. So you're forced onto the secondary market. Or you have to go to a knife show. You get into a lottery. We all know how that system works. And you can buy one for his price. And what happens? Probably 90% of the people that luck out with that lottery will then take that and profit off of it. Now, I'm not going to give my opinion as to whether that's good or bad. Everybody has different situations. Everybody's going to react to things differently. I will say that when you see these guys buying a knife for $360 or $375 and then turning around selling it for $800 to $900, to me, that's abusive. Hey, make a couple $100 on me because you know what? I didn't go to the show. I have no other way to get it. I'll pay you a premium. Sure, I'll give you an extra, maybe a couple $100. But to charge, darn near triple or at least more than double, that's ridiculous. But it's what the market will bear. And as people are buying it, it's easy to justify it. Because you see one pop up on a forum somewhere or pop up on eBay, they sell. That's just the way it is. So the way I look at it, on the XM24 that you can buy for $500 from the factory, you'll generally pay anywhere between $850 and $1,000 on the forums or on eBay or wherever it is that you choose to buy. At $500 is a damn good knife. At $1,000, hell no. You know what $1,000 is going to buy you these days? It's insane. So it also depends on what your purpose is. I wanted a Hinderer to use it for exactly what Rick Hinderer made it for. To be a user. To be carried. To cut shit. I don't look at this as a Grail knife. And anybody that's considering buying an XM18 or XM24, and you have it in your mind that this knife is so incredibly well made that this is going to be a Grail knife, you're going to be disappointed. It also depends on what your experiences are and what you have in your collection currently and what you've owned before. But this is not a knife I would consider to be a Grail knife, period. As you see, it's a user. It's, you carry it, you cut shit with it, and that's exactly what it's made for. You look at something like a Greg Lightfoot. I love my full contact fighter. This is a Grail knife for a lot of people. You have all exotic materials. All of this was laid and cut by hand. Almost as much titanium just in those liners as in the entire XM24. A lot of thought went into the process and the manufacturing. Custom pivot. Amazing grind on the blade. Wonderfully sharp. Not easy to find. Love the carbon fiber pocket clip. And you know what? He sells these for about $650. Yeah, not $1,000, about $650. And dealers aren't really upcharging too much on them either. The Bodega. That's a Grail knife. In the world of EDC knives, custom, mid-tech, whatever, EDC knives, that's a Grail knife. It flips like nobody's business. It has amazing style. It's got great custom touches. This is the kind of knife you should be aspiring to. Can it be a user? Hell yeah. Is it a great show-off piece? Hell yeah. Best flipping knife I own. Browse Blades Division Flipper. It's not out yet. It'll be coming out soon, in about 2 or 3 months. He's going to be charging, I think he said $350. Lots of carbon fiber, lots of titanium, amazing blade. Best flipping action I've ever felt in my entire life on any knife, period. This is a user, folks. This is a tool. That's the way I look at it. Even with its, pretty, fancy little carbon fiber scale, it's a user. This is going to chop shit. This is going to slice shit. Might get some blood on it at some point. More likely my own than anybody else's. But it's a tool. It is built like a tank. Now, don't let what I'm saying here dissuade you from purchasing one. I'm just going to tell you, I would rather have spent $1,000 on this than to have spent $1,000 on that. That doesn't take away from its usefulness. It's fantastic quality, and it is easy to compare what Rick is doing to what Chris Reeve is doing. This knife, you can break it down, put it back together very, very simply, and as long as you screw everything down the way it should be, it's going to center the same way it did when you got it brand new. It's going to operate flawlessly. It's going to be wonderfully reliable. It's a hell of a great knife. Very tough blade, nice thick blade stock. Yes, because that's a demonstration of a tough steel right there. My hand can't break it. You know what I mean. There is no play anywhere. I mean, this thing locks up solidly. Damn early lockup, too. I'm actually very impressed with that. Thoughtful jimping. Where he puts the jimping is exactly where you're going to need it. Period. Not overly aggressive, not overly grabby and bitey. The G10 scales. Smooth to the touch, but you'll lock into it when you grab it. It's not going to tear up your pockets when you're pulling it in and out every single day. It's quality all the way around, but it's not meant to be a showpiece. I love the Spanto blade. The slicer blades are fantastic. I would prefer to have a Hellfire, but yeah, good luck getting one of those. Well, you think you're going to pay a premium for this? Get a friggin' Hellfire blade. See what people are asking for that. But I love the Spanto blade because I love Tantos, and I like the practicality of having a spear point, and that's exactly what he created here. That's why he called it Spanto. Spear point Tanto. Beautifully done. Nice swedge across the top. It's an attractive look. He does a nice stonewash. Typically, the tie side will be stonewash. This was his dark bead blast. From what I understand, there are fewer that he's done in the dark bead blast than he's done in stonewash. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. Again, to me, I'm not buying this as a collector knife. I don't own it as a collector's knife. This is a user. And if you have that idea in your mind, I think you're going to enjoy it a whole hell of a lot more. Because wherever it is that you ordered it from, whomever it is that you traded with for it, you're going to be under this great anticipation. Especially if you're like me. When I did my trade to get this knife, I had never held a Hinderer in my life. Never held one, never saw one in real life. So I'm only going off the hype that has been created, the mystique that has surrounded it. And I got it, loved it. I'm not saying I didn't love it. And I put it in my hand and went, oh, that is a solid, solid, solid knife. Very thick titanium. Locks up amazing. I mean, every little thing is fitted perfectly, just like I would expect out of a Chris Reeve. And you know what? They're priced accordingly. Now, this is obviously the dolled up one that I show you guys, but, this would be about a $400 knife without any embellishments. This is still going to be a little bit more, but I still feel it's worth it. This is a hard use knife. He has made this If you need to pry, you can pry. You need to chop, you can chop. You need to slice, you can slice. It came with a great, great edge on it. Nice and sharp. The contours. Now, I'm not fortunate enough to have gotten into Rick Hinderer earlier, pre-XM stage. He's been doing this for 26 years. And yeah, he went through that when he first started doing pretty much tools. He was a farrier. He was a horseshoer. And he decided to forge his own knife one day, and he gave it to a friend, from what I understand. Made a knife for a friend, and they decided, hey, making knives is kind of cool. And that's what he decided to do with his life, and that's really awesome. Then he went into kind of fantasy knives and stuff like that. But he never really charged a lot of money from what I see out there, the information that's out there. And then when he made the flame, that was when he started to get this basic shape. This basic, tactical, practical carry kind of knife. Had the same lanyard oval, same basic look overall, same pocket clip, everything. And then right after that, the XM series was born, and they just took off like crazy. But he made it to be used as a hard use knife. And this is the same thing that Dave Curtis is doing right now, and a lot of people are buying into the F3. I have one on order as well. I should have had it 3 weeks ago. I won't even get into all that, but it's going to come in about a week or so, I guess. And it's so funny because it's a very similar shape. Also has a Spanto-style blade. So it really is a lot like a Hinderer. And the thing Dave Curtis said was, when you buy this knife, I want you to use it. It's meant to be used. Cut stuff, chop stuff, do it, what you would do with a knife. Don't just carry it, don't stick it in a safe. That's not what I made it for. And Dave is charging less. Well, I guess in comparable sizes, he's right about dead on. But he's also giving you full tie. He's giving you tie on both sides. It's a big difference. He's also giving you IKBS. You don't get that. You get the nylon washers here. And that's the other reason I think that the deployment is not as good as it should be. Again, mine's broken in nicely. And there is a certain way to flip it. You can't rock back on a Hinderer. Now, I understand the fourth gens, like of the XM18, they're much, much, much better. But I could take any of my flippers, rock back on it, put zero effort into them, and they fly open. This, you really do have to light switch it. Actually, not really light switch it. Light switch it would be kind of rocking it. You really do have to kind of on and off switch it. You have to push down and a little bit forward. As long as you do that, it's pretty much going to deploy how you want it to. I think you could get more for your money with other brands, period. But if you know that you're buying a knife that you want to really use, that you're going to cut stuff, that you're going to carry and actually use, you don't care if it gets dirty. It's not going to be that knife that every time you look at it, you're wiping, oh no, I've got something on my blade. You know guys like that. You know what, I'll admit it, I'm like that with some of my knives too. For the most part, you can look at my knives and you know that they're users. Actually, I just got finished cleaning and lubricating this knife so the blade isn't as chopped up as it was before. But yeah, you can still tell. But yeah, there are certain knives, oh yeah, I get a spot on the blade. I'm like, oh God, oh no. But this is not that knife. So the way I look at it is this. If you're looking for a great EDC, you're looking for an actual tool, get yourself a Hinderer. The way this thing is built, you're going to be amazed when you feel that in your hand. It feels like I'm holding a sledgehammer. This thing, it's heavy. It's built like a tank. And that's a really overused term, especially in the collector's knife arena. But it really is built like a tank. The specifications are just dead on. Very tight tolerances on everything. He did a fantastic job. But you're not buying a hand-built custom. You're buying as mid-tech gets. And again, nothing wrong with that. Especially when you're spending between $375 and $500. But when you start looking at, I'm spending $1,000 on this, gotta be more to it, man. Look at that pivot. Now again, there's a practical need for it, but when you're talking about a knife collector calling this a Grail knife, I shouldn't see a slotted screw on there. Just the way it is. Now as a user, I can break a quarter out of my pocket and break my knife down in the field if I have to. That's a tool. That's a practical carry, practical purpose on a practical carry, and I love that. Because that's what I'm buying it for. I'm not buying it to stick in the safe. So that's practical for me. Leave the fancier pivots to the ones that I may not take out and actually go in the woods with or anything where I'm not going to have a tool handy if I had to break it down for some reason. Yes, you can use a spanner tool on there, but you don't need to. Another big flathead screwdriver or another coin. You're able to open it up, great. I like that it gives you a cover plate for the reversible pocket clip. If you change it from one side to the other, you have a cover plate. It makes the knife look whole. It's an intelligent choice. The lock bar stabilizer that Rick Hinderer invented. Brilliant. Fantastic. Pocket clip, great retention. Nice clean design, not overdone, not too long. You see some knives with pocket clips halfway up the damn knife. Or shaped like a giant freaking spoon. Why? No need for it. This works perfectly. It's simple, and the ergonomics are fantastic. This knife falls into the hand. This is a very organic feel. It's a very organic design. So when you get into all these factors, the size of his choil, how it's been placed, how you can choke up on this blade, everything about this was intelligently designed to be used as a tool, as a knife should be. So again, as I say, if you're a knife collector and you're looking to amass a collection and you're looking at an XM series as a Grail knife, I think it's something that every collector should own at some point or should experience to some degree. But if you're going to pay the secondary market prices, you're going to pay $800, $900 or more, depending on the time of year, on an XM18 3 or 3.5 inch, or you're going to pay $900 or $1,000 on an XM24. I want you to think of where you're at in your collection. Do you have all the fancy, cool stuff, the dream knives that you want? That cool Timascus, or that cool Mokutai? Got all the flippers that you need, that you really want, that will actually flip when you rock back on that flipper? Have you got all the things that you feel you need to satisfy you as a collector to then take that amount of money and spend on a knife like this? This is not a Ferrari, this is a Ford. A very tough built Ford. This is a Ford truck or a Chevy truck or Dodge truck. I don't need anybody bitching about Ford is better than Chevy or whatever else. This is a pickup truck. This is a Ferrari. So is this. Which one am I going to reach for more often when I'm heading out for the day? If I'm goofing off with my buddies and we all kind of enjoy knives, we want to, show each other some cool stuff, yeah, I'll probably grab one of these. But the Hinderer, every bit as respected as these, because you got a solid, really good quality knife. But if I'm going to go out and actually do something, I'm grabbing this. I'm not going to take that Ferrari and go mudding in it. Nope. Anyway, this is just one man's opinion, and I don't want it to, like I said, I don't want it to dissuade you from purchasing a Hinderer, because you really, truly are going to get a fantastic quality knife that you're going to be proud to own. You're going to be proud to carry, proud to show it to people and go, man, check out my new knife. And everybody knows what it is. And most people that don't have one wish that they do. But I think there are fewer people like me out there that just look at it and go, I want a Hinderer, but I'm not going to pay the secondary market prices. Like right now, I have the biggest hard-on for the Direware Solo V2. And I'm specific. I want that carbon fiber handle. I want that dark, acid-etched, dark stonewash blade. I think that is one of the baddest looking knives there is. And they sell them for $550. Great price, I think, for a custom knife. But when you start, and I'm not lying, go look at eBay right now if you're watching this any time around my upload date. There's a guy out there selling it for over $2,000. Really? That's abusive. I'm sorry. I'll just never understand that. I'll pay somebody a good $200, $300, maybe even $400 above what it's sold for because I know how hard it is to get one and their books are closed and you're not going to get one. I'll pay somebody a premium. But when you start talking about I could have bought 4 or 5 of the same knife for the price you're charging, hell no. And that's where I stand on this. This is an amazing knife. I don't know if I like it more than the 3.5 inch. I have to decide when I get one. I'm probably only going to keep one. But I'm going to always have a Hinderer in my collection now. The quality is outstanding. I would put this up there with pretty much anything. I just don't see where somebody would spend $1,000 on it and then brag about how great of a knife it is at $1,000. That tells me they have not owned a $1,000 knife, a legitimate, not a secondary markup, secondary market markup, but a legitimate $1,000 custom. Because you can't say, I spent $1,000 on this and oh my God, it's so amazing. It's so perfect. It's so worth, no, it's not. It's just not. This is a really good $500 knife. I'll tell you this would be a good $700 knife. But you get beyond that and you see the caliber of knives out there that you could be buying. But again, it depends on your needs. I'm not going to tell you that this is a better knife if what you need is a user for every day. You're cutting, you work in a warehouse and you're cutting straps all day off of shipments and you're slicing through boxes all day and you're using the butt of it to bang down paint can lids or something. No, this would be a stupid waste of money for you. Because yes, while it's a nicer knife, it's got better quality materials throughout. There's a lot more attention to detail and it's a lot fancier. You're going to destroy a knife that wasn't designed for that. So yes, in your case, this would be the better choice. But wait a second. Why not spend a hell of a lot less and get a zero tolerance or a Spyderco? Maybe even a cold steel, if that's what you're going to be using them for. They're probably going to hold up every bit as well. Maybe not last as long, but hold up as well while you're using it. And you're spending a hell of a lot less money. And that's the quandary that I think Hinderer has created. And I don't even want to say that. Hinderer has not created that. The secondary market and the hype surrounding it has created that. So you have to judge for yourself. I think everybody should own one. I think it's it's an amazing quality knife. You just have to justify it to yourself when it comes down to exactly how much money somebody's charging for it at the time that you want and how much you're willing to spend. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Again, it's certainly not gospel. I'm not going to tell anybody you've got to blindly, follow me and listen to everything I say. That's just how I feel about it. I'd really love to hear from you in the comments how you feel about this. Can you justify it? Would you justify it? Why or why not? I'll be looking forward to them. Talk to you guys later.